to me, my X-Men, so that we can get together and take a look at some impressions of the Marvel Legends X-Factor Cyclops from the new Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave. Now, I'm going to open this up at the very beginning and say this is going to be a very biased review, or not even a review, very biased impression of this figure, because I'm a huge fan of Cyclops, number one. Number two, I'm a huge fan of X-Factor, the original X-Factor, the original 5 X-Men together as X-Factor, because quite frankly, that was my quintessential X-Men when I came into reading comics. They were the first team I picked up. There was an X book that I read regularly. I have the entire run of that X-Factor run up until they leave the team. And then I've got a good bit after that too, because I did like the second team. But this is my quintessential X-Men team. And yes, I know they're going by the name X-Factor, but still, it's the original 5 X-Men. And Cyclops being my favorite, this figure just holds a lot of special, what's the word I'm looking for here? A lot of special emotional sentimentality, nuance, whatever you want to say. It holds that for me because it's just my team. It's just my figures. I'm looking forward to building a full X-Factor display as we get Jean, and I need a new Archangel because I'm not really happy with the one we have right now. But there's so much about this that makes it important to me that I just, there's no way that at the end of this I'm going to say this is not a recommend. Let's just be honest about that up front. But I will try to give some very small amount of objectivity in here. There's going to be a lot of subjectivity because again, it's important for me. But I think that this is actually one of the better Cyclops figures they have done because I like the new Optic Blast. I like some of the other stuff about it. And we'll talk about that more as we get into it. But, this figure just means a lot. It's nostalgic value. That's the word I was looking for earlier, and I could not think of it. Sorry, I had a brain fart. And I tried to do the whole Xavier thing, and I even pulled off the look. But, hey, I couldn't do the his intelligence. So, you know what, let's not even waste any more time. Let's just get right on into the first impression of this figure and talk about what I think about it. Welcome back, Marvelites. We are here with our first impression of the Marvel Legends series X-Men X-Factor uniform Cyclops from the Marvel Build-A-Figure Nemesis Wave. So this is going to be, I'm going to be perfectly honest, this is going to be a completely biased take on this one, only because this is one of my favorite characters, period, and this is one of my favorite versions of it. Now, not necessarily this look, the look I prefer for Cyclops from X-Factor is the one I'm going to post on the screen here right now so that you can see it here, somewhere in here right now. But in terms of Cyclops' look, this is in my top 5 uniforms. Number 1 would be the one I put here. Number 2, which is an X-Factor version. Number 2 would be Jim Lee uniform. 3 would probably be the white X-Factor uniform, and then this is the 4th one. But I'm a huge fan of X-Factor. I thought that version of X-Factor is my quintessential X-Men team. There's a lot of different X-Men teams, a lot of different members on, a lot of different great stories and arcs. I just really bought into and got into the original X-Factor team when they first came out, which was the original X-Men back together as a team. And, because of that, I have a huge fondness in my heart for this figure. Nothing was going to fade. I even have these still in the little 3.75-inch Marvel figures. I have an X-Factor team built. So I am so excited to build an X-Factor team with these guys because I just want to display that because it's one of my favorite X-Men teams ever, and it's one of my favorite comic book runs ever. I actually have the entire run of the original X-Men team, and I just love them to death. So this is going to be completely unbiased because I'm going to be honest with you, there's not much here I'm going to say that's going to be wrong. And this is only a first impression. I haven't opened it. I could open it and fall apart and I'd be distraught. But so far, first impressions, not going to happen. So let's take a look at the box. Good box art on the side. I love the scene from the X-Factor. I don't know why they got one where he's bleeding profusely, but okay, yeah, sure, whatever. On the back, same artwork, and again, he's bleeding from the nose. I was like, could you guys not have picked a better scene? Why did you pick one where he's getting beat up? But you see the rest of the wave on the box to build a figure. Straight out of the comic book. Now this, much more what I expect to see on the back of. This is my version of Cyclops again. Not absolutely my number 1 A100 favorite, but one of his X-Factor suits is my number 1 favorite, and the other X-Factor suits make up the rest of the top 4, not even top 5, but 3 of those make up the top 4, with the one being Jim Lee's 90s X-Men Cyclops along with them. But getting back to the figure itself, first impressions, I love the suit. So and the colors look great. The paint app looks great. I don't see a lot of bleed over in the paint app. Let's put them in a little bit closer. I mean, there's not a lot of bleed over in the paint app. There's not a lot weird going on. You got this multiple hands if you want open hand, or if you want let me touch my visor shooting hand, and then the effect we always have. Now, let's talk about a couple of things. Let's do the negative first. Negative first. The only negative I have is that I would have liked a more stoic face. The smirk is okay, but it's all right. And the screaming face, they always want to make his Octoblast fit with a screaming face, which a lot of times, yeah, that does happen. He's yelling with the Octoblast, but if you look here, he's just grimacing a little bit. There's no yelling. Why, oh why, do we get, in this day and age, a face where we can't take the visor piece out and put in the blast here, or here, or put just the straight visor piece in either one? I mean, Mafex is able to do it. Why isn't Marvel? I know that there's a price point difference in those two. We're talking about that. You're paying more for Mafex, but then again, we're also now paying more for this new Maximum line that came out with the new Spider-Man. So, you know what? If that's going to be the case, then you need to start giving us more options like, oh, let's take this out and put it into here, and I can put the blast in here, or whatever. Whatever. I'm most likely going to be displaying it with this because I want the blast effect, because here's the cool thing, the good thing about this figure. This is very simple piece of plastic, but it's a blast effect actually hitting something, not just trailing off into nowhere. So this is probably going to be on my figure, on here, on this head, on the figure. That is the plan as of right now. But first impressions, I'm going to tell you guys that there's no way I'm going to say this is a bad figure. I'm not going to recommend it because it's a personal fan favorite for me. The objective thing here, the head sculpts is the only thing I've seen objectively so far. Now, yeah, I just want to check. We can see down there he does have on yellow boots, because that is the objective bad thing that's going to come from that Jean Grey figure, because they're not going to go back and paint the boots yellow. You put a picture of the figure on the box with the yellow boots, but you still didn't give her yellow boots. That's going to be a pissed off point for me, because why? We know she has them. We know she should have them. We screwed it up, but we're not going to fix it. So, that's going to be a pain. I'm still going to get it because to make my X Factor display, because I've got to have that to go in there. But you know what? I'm not going to be as unhappy, and I'm not going to be as unbiased because, again, she's not my favorite character. Cyclops is. However, I will like it, but I'm still going to complain about the end of the day. Again, it's that was a bad example, because that's going to be twofold for me, because hey, it's my favorite comic book team and character, or favorite comic book team, but not my favorite character, and you didn't give me 100% right. The Cyclops, I'm not seeing anything that stands out as bad or wrong, so I'm extremely happy with this. And again, yeah, this is going to be a very biased review. So if you're looking for the unbiased objective version, the objectivity you're going to get from me is going to be about the head, most likely, unless he falls apart coming out of the box. And then the rest is just going to be my bias. Oh, I'm super happy with this. So let's get this guy out of the box, get him on the shelf, and come back in a few days and do lasting impressions. And we will talk again later, team. Alright, we are back here with the lasting impressions of the Marvel Legends X Factor uniform Cyclops from the new Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave. And yeah, I pretty much said everything I needed to say in the first impressions video. Lasting impressions is I love this figure just as much as I thought I would. There's a couple things to touch on here. This setup right now is just kind of how it is right now. I still need a Jean, and yes, I need an Archangel. Yes, I have an Angel and an Archangel and package closed back there behind them. I can get this. I actually have an open Angel, so I could bring him down on his flight stand and put him in the middle of this group to have at least Angel, but that's really not his X Factor uniform. I'm kind of waiting for a better X Factor uniform, and while this version of Archangel is the X Factor version, I'm waiting for a new and updated figure. I've seen the new Uncanny X-Force one. He looks awesome. He has great wings and stuff. I would love to have him, or at least have that version of him with this team, but not in the silver. I want him in these actual colors from when he was with X Factor. Now, as far as the Cyclops figure, though, which is where our focus is, No, this setup is not staying the same. Jean's got to get out of here. Archangel's got to get out of here. I'll move them around some more. This is kind of where they're staying along with these X-Men, and I really need to move War Machine somewhere else, but he's taking up space at the moment. But I love this team. I love the X-Factor team. I've already talked about that enough. I'm not going to harp on it anymore, but, you know, where this is going to go and how these are going to be sitting here and set up, it'll be really cool. I'll have the team all around, and again, my only drawback negative to this figure is the screaming face for the Optic Blast. I'd rather have just a stoic face, but you know what? I'll take it for this. And no, his head does not have to be looking up that high for the effect to hold up. It can look down lower, still hold its balance stuff. I just put it up this high because I was like, oh, I kind of like it coming up. It kind of brings a pop to the shelf, brings it out. And I love how you see the X in the bottom of it when you're down here at the same level looking at it. Now, as far as this figure itself, though, I mean, you know, stands very well, balances well, whether you're looking up, looking down with the blast. The uniform is cool. It's one of my favorite uniforms for him. Like I said, it's that X-Factor uniform. A little bit of overspray here in the inside the butterfly joint. I did say that. You couldn't see it on in the figure in there, but once I got it out and moved a little bit, it's very, very far in. So if you're pulling that arm way back, it kind of pops out, which is why I don't have his arm back any further, really. But you know, holding the visor, making the blast, he looks really good. He looks good on the shelf. And, you know, I have the white version up here along with Havoc and Vulcan because got the whole Summers Clan. And if you wanted just to kind of comparison between of the two together, and I just knocked over Havoc, so I'll have to pick him back up. But, you know, look at the two of them together. Very well done. You can see a difference in the figure as well as, you know, the new body buck, the pinless, I should say, compared to the old one, which is not. But still, both very well done figures. I gotta fix Havoc now. Darn it. But, you know, works out very well. I'm very happy with him. I wish I hadn't moved him now at all down from down here because I had this set up exactly how I wanted it. I wanted him kind of in the middle of the shelf blasting. You're going to have the rest of the X-Factor coming out around him. He'll kind of be the centerpiece. I'll get Jean in there with him somewhere and move Beast and Iceman around. And yes, I know other people are going to complain about this version of Iceman. A lot of people don't like this figure. It works for me because this is the closest we've gotten to that version of Iceman. So I love it. Beast, everybody loves that Beast. So nothing to complain about there. I don't have anything to complain about that Iceman. If I could get a inhibitor belt for him, the Diamond Select one doesn't fit. I do have that with the because Hassel had actually gave me his Diamond Select version. He just wanted the Ice Slide, which I don't blame him for, but that belt does not fit this figure, so you can't really use it with him. It's way too big. It just kind of falls off of him. But anyway, setup, perfect. Looks really good. I may end up pulling his head back down for the auto effect. My only dislike on that is when it's down, you kind of can't see any of the rest of his face. I mean, I guess I could try to turn him a little bit. Maybe I'll do that and take another shot of it in just a moment, just so you guys see it. But yeah, this is kind of where I'm at the moment, and I'm happy with it. So let's nothing else really to say. So let's move over to final thoughts on this new Marvel Legends figure. So real quickly before we jump to final thoughts, I did try to reposition him and put him here, and this is what I was talking about. The Optic Blast just kind of blocks part of the face. I mean, the only way I can make that work is if I do a now he's blocking Iceman, but I mean, you can make all the looks work. Probably going to end up aiming it back up a little bit just to finish it off, but just so you guys can see that it balances well, even with that heavier piece on the front of it. Everything works really well. So again, I think I've already said it once, but now I'm going to say it again. Let's get over to final thoughts and just talk about this. And that gets us through all the impressions for the Marvel Legends X-Factor Cyclops from the new Nemesis Build-A-Figure wave, bringing us directly into my final thoughts on the figure. Well, if you've heard any of the rest of this broadcast, if you listen to anything I said at any point here, you pretty much know this one is going to end up being a recommend for me. Now, what does that mean? Well, for me, I would have went for this regardless, but let's just be honest. This is completely unbiased, or not unbiased. This is completely biased on my part. So I'm going to give you the rundown of what I think about this figure for final thoughts here, both subjectively and objectively. So subjectively, I said it's a recommend, and the reason why is because it's Cyclops, favorite character. It's X-Factor, my quintessential X-Men team. There's nothing else really to say about that. But let's take a look at the objectively as well. So objectively, there are a couple of things they could work on in this figure. I'm not going to say it's perfect. The head sculpt, the smirking head was kind of cool because you got something slightly different. But it's not something I necessarily want. I kind of like the more stoic faces on my figures. The screaming head, I get so tired of just because the character's using the power and effect and they're fighting, they got to be screaming. No, sometimes they're quiet while they're fighting. Sometimes they are screaming, but I don't like the fact that I've only got one head that I could put the effect on, which is the screaming head. And I don't really care that much for the screaming head. So objectively, that's a slight downfall of the figure. However, objectively, again, that doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, this figure comes with a brand new power effect for Cyclops. It's not just the same shooting off into the middle of nowhere space Optic Blast we got. This one actually has a deflection point for where it hits. It's cool because you could do that where he's fighting another character. So if I had another character there in display, he could be blasting the other character. I have seen multiple people who have done reviews where they're actually balancing other characters on top of the blast while he's blasting straight up in the air. If you're blasting straight up in the air and then hitting something that was supposed to be in the air, you would have a blast effect there. So that's really cool. That's the most objective reason to buy this new Cyclops, other than the body build. That's my other subjective point, or not subjective. My other objective point for buying this figure is because this is a Cyclops on a pinless body. We may already have another one, but most of the ones that most people remember, the retro car one is a pin body. The Jim Lee uniforms are a pin body, unless you have picked up the ones from the cartoon, which then you got to worry about it's a little more cartoony looking as well as it has a cell shading. I'll be honest and tell you, I didn't get those, even though I don't think they were that bad. I don't need another Cyclops in that uniform. This is the first time we've gotten them in this scale and size in that X Factor uniform, unless you bought that Marvel Select one that came out years ago, and that was the variant of that Marvel Select, because the regular version of that was just the old X-Men style with the trunks and the boots and stuff. But they did do a variant of that. But who's going to run around and pay aftermarket prices of $125 plus for that variant figure of that? Not me. Besides that figure is also a little bit too tall and he won't fit in with my Marvel Legends figures to make an X Factor team. And I don't think we have a good, well, except for Gene, I think we do actually have everybody in Marvel Select. But I'm going to tell you, I am not a collector of Marvel Select. They are so limited on posability that I don't really care that much for them. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to badmouth them. It just doesn't do it for me. So in Marvel Legends and the more articulated style, this is a version of Cyclops we've got that we can put into an X Factor team. Again, I will go back and say that my biggest gripe would be, the head sculpts, and if you could give me some way to change out that I could use different head sculpts for the Optic Blast effect, that would have been cool. And Mafex doesn't now, and I know it's going to cost a little bit more if you do that, but let's be honest, you're trying to get into that Mafex market with the Marvel Legends line with the new Maximum series, so maybe that'll come down the road. We don't have it right now, but at the end of the day, this is a really good, solid figure. I mean, it's subjectively, it's Cyclops. Subjectively, it's X Factor. Even original X Factor. Even though it's not my number one suit, it's in the top 5 suits he's had. And hey, it's X Factor, which is my quintessential X-Men. Objectively, we've got a new Optic Blast. We've got a good body build. And I want to say that on this one, I'm going to point this out very heavily on this one, because a lot of times I get Marvel Legends, I'm like, oh, they're really good, but then there's overspray, or they don't line up the paint scheme very well. This one did have one spot that it was able to be noticed inside the butterfly joint, but it's way inside the butterfly joint. Like, I can work around it so you don't see it. So I'm going to say just the fact of how well they did this figure is another reason to go out and buy it. But with all that being said, final thoughts, recommend on this figure for us. But hopefully, in case if you were debating about this figure, this helps inform you about a hero who is feared and hated by a world that he's sworn to protect, so you can figure out if you want to pick it up for yourself or not. And if you enjoyed this or any of our other content on Stayware Network, please like and subscribe. And if you want to check out any of our other shows, you can find us on Big Rob. You can find on his channel, Big Rob's House of Entertainment and No Chinese Food. You can go check out Chris Daly on his Fueled by Weird podcast, wherever you find your podcast. And then go check out the Nerdy Mandarin channel, where you can catch myself and Hassel together on the Nerdy Mandarin show, and Hassel on Hassel's review. With all that being said, thanks for watching, and join us here next time for some more impressions.